Hello everyone, welcome to ApeStarter. So this is a brief guide to ApeWorks. ApeWorks is a crypto dev tool that's based on the Python programming language. By the time you finish this short 2-video series, you'll know the basics of how to build a crypto app or bot in Ape that can pull on-chain data and make transactions and automate all of that good stuff. You don't need any previous programming experience, but if you do, it will make things a little bit easier to follow along. And you don't need to install anything locally on your laptop or computer because we're going to be using Google Colab, which is a good tool for writing and running Python code in your browser. So let's get started. This first lesson, like I said, is in Colab. The link to the notebook is either in the tweet below if you're finding this via the tweet thread, or in the section below if you're checking this out on the ApeStarter website. In lesson 1, we'll be looking at reading on-chain data with ApeWorks. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some contracts and pull data on them. You want to copy this notebook to your drive so that you kind of own your own version of it. So let's just do that. Simple. And we're going to just start off with installing Ape. So Google Colab provisions you a machine in the cloud temporarily that you can use for all of your stuff. Thank you to our overlords at Google, right? So to run a code block, you can either press this run button, or you can hold down Shift and enter. So either one of those works, and you'll be connected to your temporary machine, and it's going to start installing ApeWorks. That'll just take a minute. Just a few files to get there. Nice. Seems like that's done now. Next, we're going to install Ape Alchemy. So Ape is really modular. You can basically install a bunch of different plugins to expand the functionality of Ape. This particular plugin allows you to use the Alchemy APIs. Alchemy's APIs basically allow you to allow applications to connect to a blockchain node, and you need that connection with a blockchain node to interact with on-chain data and send transactions and do all of that. There are also other services that provide similar APIs like Infura, which you might have heard of, but using Alchemy in this example because I just like them. It's pretty good, reliable stuff. So we'll run that. I just held down Shift and Enter to run that block. We'll give it a second to finish. Oh, it's done. Next plugin that we're going to install is Ape Etherscan, which is very useful for fetching contract data, which we're definitely going to need for this lesson. So I'm going to install that too. It'll only take a second. There we go. Now, once you've run these code blocks, you'll need to restart the runtime. You know, sometimes when you install some software on your computer, you need to restart before it actually works. Something like that, kind of. You'll be able to do that by selecting runtime in the top menu and restart runtime. So that will just restart the machine that Google's given you. Great. And now we're going to go ahead and actually connect to Ethereum. First thing we're going to need to do is import the specific libraries from Ape that we're going to need for this lesson. Libraries that have to do with interacting with chains and specific networks and contracts. So we're going to run that code block. In the next bit, we're going to have to put in our Alchemy API key. Now, I mentioned earlier in the tweet thread or on the website, depending on where you're seeing this, that you'd need to sign up for Alchemy before we start. But I'll just quickly walk through signing up for Alchemy now so that you can see what that looks like. So this is Alchemy's site. I'm going to sign in. And we'll make a team and just call this Coffee Team. And we're, doing this for learning. And we're going to be working with Ethereum. In this case, you can get a free account. Skip that because I don't want to give you guys my bank details. And actually for this section, it would be really cool if I could track how many people actually sign up with Alchemy because of me. So if you could say that you heard about it through ApeStarter, that would be great because I can actually go back and check with the Alchemy team how this went. So let's build. Great. It's already kind of provisioned you some teams here, and this is an Ethereum mainnet team. We can go here to view our key. So this is the key that they've given us. We can copy that. Go back to our notebook, and we can replace that filler text with our actual API key. Great. Run that. So that's in the system now. In this next code block, we're going to make that connection to Ethereum, specifically Ethereum mainnet, and using the Alchemy API as our provider that's connecting us to the blockchain. Now, there are lots of other networks that you can connect to. So with Ape, you could connect to Optimism or Arbitrum or any other number of chains, but we're starting off with Ethereum here. And yeah, we'll just run that to get us set up. In this next bit, we're actually going to start reading data on the current state of a contract. So first off, I'm going to choose a contract to look at. First contract we're going to take a look at is the USDC contract for the USDC token. And this line of code here, super simple, allows us to create an instance of the USDC contract that we can interact with. So that's the actual, the address for the USDC contract. So if you entered this in Etherscan, you'd be able to find the USDC contract. So that creates that instance. And now we're going to check how much USDC Uniswap's USDC pool holds. So I'm going to dive into Etherscan a bit here. This is the address for USDC. If we enter it into Etherscan, it takes us to this page, which is all about the USDC contract. You can see transactions that have happened. But if we actually select the contract tab in Etherscan, this is great because it will actually show you all of the functions of the, actually you have to select read as proxy. Don't need to go into why that's the case, but you will. It will be able to show us all of the functions on the USDC contract that you can interact with. And specifically, we're going to be interested in the balance of function. So balance of is great. It tells us what is the USDC balance, how much USDC does a specific contract hold. And in this case, the contract that we're interested in is the DAI USDC pool on Uniswap, which is at this address here. So going back, going back here, we know that the function that we're looking for is called balance of, and as we can see here, that function wants an address to basically say that this is the address I want to get information about, balance information about. So we will put in the address of the Uniswap pool that we're interested in, and we're going to print the result of that function call. Great. So we just run that and we got a really clear answer of how much USDC this particular pool holds. If we were to go to Etherscan and try and execute the same command here, we would get the very same result. So, you could do this in Etherscan, but doing it in code allows you to automate kind of pulling that data. Like you could set a timer to pull that information every minute or every hour and do all sorts of stuff, which is a really powerful set of skills to have. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to read historical data. So this is what we did before is we checked currently what is the balance of USDC for this address. But what if we want to know about events that happened in the past? So whenever a smart contract emits an event, so your USDC and there was a token transfer, or it's a yen vault and there was a deposit, or your Uniswap and there was a swap. Whenever a smart contract emits one of those events, a log of that event is written to the blockchain and you can read it later. In this case, we're going to take a look at historical data around an NFT contract. So we're going to be looking at the Webaverse Genesis Pass NFT. And using this command, you can, again, create an interactive instance of that NFT contract. Great. Now, if we take a look at this command here, this is going to allow you to pull all of the logs that correspond to that contract's transfer event in between this block and this block. So block 1355, whatever block that is, whenever that was, and the final one. And it's really kind of simple to read. We're going to get all of the data on transfers by pulling the logs where the log is in this range. We'll run that real quick. And that's done. And now, if we call NFT transfers again, we can actually see a list of all of the transfers that happened. So at that time, there was a transfer from this account to that account, and this was the ID of the NFT that was sent, and so on. And this is just kind of a really great tool for looking at historical data. Let me see if I can actually show you the code for the transfer event to be in there somewhere. Let me see. Well, yeah, I probably should have actually tried this before attempting to do it live. Oh wait, just missed it. I think I just saw what I was looking for. Great. Yeah, we can actually see that, for instance, this transfer form function, like I mentioned before, it emits a transfer event, just like we spoke about. So, that's just kind of to show that even if you don't know much about Solidity or Viper, you can kind of bounce around in contracts and find some of the information that you're looking for about what events are being emitted. Let me just try this. I was curious. Yeah, so we can see, just different. If you search for emit, you can see like all of these instances of like transfer event being emitted, approval event being emitted, and all sorts of good stuff. So this brings us to the end of lesson 1. Congratulations, you made it. So you learned how to read data on the current state of a contract and also read historical data based on the logs that are posted to the blockchain whenever an event happens with a contract. So this is great. You in these 15 minutes gain like a really cool skill. You can go back, you can change the contracts in here to completely different contracts and try and get data on those and have fun with that. And then you can move on to lesson 2, where we're going to learn how to execute transactions using Ape. And the link for that lesson is right here. See you in the next one.